Hello everyone, in this video we will be correcting your worksheets from throughout the week. So we're going to start immediately with this one. We're going to do the negative number ones first. Well, this is actually just theory, so we're not going to need to solve anything on that at all. So we're going to do the exercises that were focused on negative numbers first. In this first exercise, we need to fill in the blanks. So let's see, minus 10, minus 9, minus 8. Then we would have minus 7, minus 6, minus 5, minus 4, minus 3, minus 2, minus 1. Then we have 0. Then we have 1, 2, and 3. Now we need to write the next and the previous number for each of these. So basically if we add 1 or if we subtract 1. So let's do that immediately. Here, if we add 1 to 0, we're just going to get 1. Whereas if I subtract 1, I'll get minus 1. We'll go one step to the left, so minus 1. Here from 7, if we add 1, we get 8. If we subtract 1, we get 6. Minus 7, if we add 1, minus 7, we add 1, we get to minus 6. If we subtract 1, we take a step left, we get to minus 8. For minus 49, you basically need to imagine this part of the number line. So you need to imagine minus 49 is somewhere out here, right? So if I add 1, it's going to go 1 to the right. Well, what number is going to be 1 to its right? That would be minus 48. What number would be 1 to its left? That would be minus 50. And then we do the same thing here. So if we add 1 here, we're going to go 1 step to the right, so minus 9. Whereas if we subtract 1, we go 1 step left, so minus 11. And the same for the rest of these, so minus 99, whereas here we get minus 101. Here we'll have minus 999, whereas here we'll have minus 1001. Here we'll have minus 9,999. Here we'll have minus 10,001. All right, let's move on. Here we want to know what happens if we add to minus 1,000, 1, a 10, 100, and 1,000. If we add 1, well, we saw here we're going to get to minus 999. If I subtract 10, well, imagine if you're at minus 1,000, you need to take 10 steps to the right, right? Well, where would you go? Minus 999, minus 998, minus 997, and so on until you get to minus 990. You need to use your logic for the next ones because you're not going to count 100 numbers backwards, basically. So here you need to think that, okay, well, when I'm doing minus 1,000 plus 100, right? Okay, well, you see what's going on here, for example. When we were doing, let me delete that actually. When we were doing minus 1,000 plus 1, we got minus 999, right? Right? 999 is the difference between 1,000 and 1, right? Because the bigger number is negative, we get a negative result. Here we get minus 990 from doing 1,000, minus 1,000 actually, minus 1,000 plus 10. And we get 990. 990 is the difference between 1,000 and 10. Again, because the bigger number here is negative, our result is also negative. So here, when we do minus 1,000 plus 100, the result is going to be the difference between 1,000 and 100, negative, so minus 900. And here, when we do minus 1,000 plus 1,000, what we get, well, since these numbers are opposite, so basically they're the same, but one is negative and the other is positive, and I'm adding them, then I automatically get 0. So it's like what happens when you get, let's say you do minus 1 plus 1, or minus 2 plus 2, or minus 3 plus 3. When you add numbers that are the same, but one is negative and one is positive, your result is 0. All right, let's see. Here we have temperatures, basically, and we need to find the difference by doing the greatest temperature per month, right, minus the lowest temperature per month. So basically we need to do this minus this. So let's write that down. Here we're going to do 22.1 minus 2.9. So that's basically like saying 22.1 plus 2.9. And if you do this, if you want, you can do this vertically. And if you do this vertically, what you're going to get is 25. Here we have, excuse me, we have 22 minus 3.2. 22 minus 3.2. Now, since I'm subtracting a negative, if you remember our rules, this is the same as saying 22 plus 3.2, right? So what we would get out of this is 25.2. Again, if you want to, this part, you can do it vertically. You know how to do it vertically. We have shown this for many years. So just to save time, I'm doing it a little faster because you can see there's still a whole lot more to do. Next up, we have 25, and we need to subtract minus 1.6. All right, well, again, subtracting a negative is the same as adding. It's positive. So 25 minus negative 1.6 is the same as saying 25 plus 1.6. So my result for that would be 26.6. Next up, we have 28.4 minus 4.2, which here I'm just doing a normal subtraction. There's no negative number, right? I'm just subtracting two positives. So the result from the subtraction would be 24.2. Next, we have 33.9. Most of the rest of these are just subtractions between positives. So let's hope you didn't get confused with that. So this is going to give us 25.9. The next one is going to be 37.5 minus 11.5, which is going to give us 26. And the next one is 15.5, 42 minus 15.5, which is again, I'm just subtracting positives. So I am going to get how much? Sorry, brain freeze right now. 26.5. All right, right. Okay, great. Next up, 39.2 minus 16. And what we get is 23.2. Next, we want to do 37.2 minus 10.4. What we get out of that, sorry, 30, no, not 30, 26.8. Yes. 32.2 minus 6.3. And we get 25.9. And then we need to do 25.8 minus 1.4, which gives us 24.4. And lastly, we do 22.5 minus negative 1.4. And here, I hope you didn't fall for this, because the last one is the subtraction of a negative. So since we're subtracting a negative, that is the same as adding a positive. So it needs to be rewritten as 22.5 plus 1.4, which makes 23.9. And there we go. That's exercise 1. If you need to check your answers, pause the video and let's continue. All right. Okay, so this one is also theory. So let's go here. Okay, we need to place these numbers on the number line, so let's do that immediately. 3 is going to be here because it's 1, 2, 3. Then we have minus 4, which is going to be minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, right there. Then we have 7 over here. Then we have 12 over here. Minus 10 is over here. Because minus 1, you can count backwards for each of these basically. Just go minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, minus 5, minus 6, minus 7, minus 8, minus 9, minus 10. If you need to. Or you can just look at these points like this. You can notice that, okay, every 5 points, it has this big line, so this is going to be 5. So by knowing that this is 5, I know that this is 7. And by knowing that this is 5, this is going to be minus 10, right? Minus 1 goes here. 1 goes here. Minus 8 is going to go here. And minus 13 goes here. All right, let's move on. Now we need to use this number line and we need to do this exercise. So this one says, I am at number 2. If I add 4, I go to number 6. Okay, so 2, you know 2 plus 4. Come on. Then we're at number 7. We subtract 11. What number do we get to? 7 is here. And we need to get 11 steps back. Okay, so here's a trick. I'll show you a trick to do subtractions like this real quick, where the number you're subtracting is more than the number that you're subtracting it from. So here, 7, you're subtracting 11. 11 is more than 7. So here's a really quick one. All right. You just use up these 7. You use since you need to step back 11 steps, right? Use 7 of the 11 steps to get to 0. And then you need to think, okay, how many more do I need to go left, right? Because I've already gone 7. How many more so that I have done a total of 11? Well, that's just 4. So I'm going to be at minus 4. That's just a quick way to think about it. I'm at minus 3, I added 4. And now here's the opposite. I'm at minus 3, and I'm adding 4. 4 is more than 3, right? So you can think I need to take 4 steps to the right. 3 are used up to get to 0. How many more do I need to take? I need to take 1 more. So that means I'm at 1. And we're at minus 12. We add 5. What do we get? Okay, minus 12 is here. We add 5 and we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here we have the number minus 8. If you count from 0, you'll see, or if you just go look here. Oh, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Yeah, see, I took this as minus 12. This is actually minus 13. This is minus 12. And if I add 5 to minus 12, I go minus 11, minus 10, minus 9, minus 8, minus 7. I'm at 0. I add 9. Well, 0 plus 9. We already know that. I'm at 4. If I subtract 10, what do I get? From 4, I take 4 steps back to get to 0. And then I need to take back another 6. So I get to minus 6. Or again, there's always the option of just going back one by one. So 1, 2, 3, and so on, and seeing where you end up. I'm at minus 2. If I add 7, minus 2 is here. Adding 7 means you add 2 to get to 0, and then you need to add another 5, so that you've added a total of 7. So you've gotten to number 5. Come on. So minus 2 plus 7 makes 5. Next up, I am at number 5. If I subtract 8, if I'm at 5, I take 5 steps back to get to 0, and then another 3, so I get to minus 3. Next up, we have comparisons. What's more, 5 or minus 5? We said that the positive number is always more, so immediately. And here we said that when comparing a negative to a 0, the 0 is also always more. Here we have a 6 with a 0. 6 is more than 0. Here's the tricky part, minus 3 with minus 7. So again, I remind you, you need to think either you're thinking about this as the ladder that I showed you, right? Or you're thinking about this and you're trying to figure out which one is higher on the ladder. Or if you're thinking about it in terms of the number line, you need to think of the bigger number is the one that is further to the right. In this case, that would be minus 3. Another way to think about this, about comparing positives, is that it's the opposite of the negatives give you the opposite of what the positives give you. So the positives, if this was 3 and 7, 7 would be more. But because these are negatives, it gives you the opposite. Minus 3 is more than minus 7. All right, here we're comparing a positive with a negative, so this is easy. Positive is more. Here we have minus 7 with a minus 1. You can look at the number line and see that minus 1 is further to the right. Or you can say 7 is more than 1, therefore minus 1 is more than minus 7. Now I'll say these in the reverse. So 6 is more than 2, so minus 2 is more than minus 6. Or you can look at the number line and see that, oh, minus 2 is here. Minus 6 is here. Minus 2 is further to the right, so it's greater. And then we're comparing 9 with 3. 9 is more. That's the entire worksheet. Pause the video if you need to check. All right, let's move on to our equalities. All right, so here we need to compare. So we need to compare some normal numbers, some decimal numbers, some fractions. So let's do that. Let's do all of that. All right, here we have 4.475 and 4.575. The integral parts are the same. So I compare the first digit to the right, and 5 is more than 4, so this number is greater. Here, again, the first digit, the integral parts are the same. So 5 is the same as 5. Then I compare the first digits to the right. 9 is the same as 9. 2 is the same as 2. But then 6 is more than 5. Therefore, this is more. Here, we've said that if the zeros are to the far right, you can erase them. So all you're left with is 5.9, meaning that these two are equal. They're the same. And the same goes for this. This 0 can be erased. So here you have 4.47 on both sides, so these are also equal. Here you can't compare these you can't compare these numbers as they are. You need to, in order for the fractions to be comparable, you need to have them both have the same denominator. So hats. Now, if you don't remember, let me remind you, to turn them into like fractions that have the same denominator, you need to find the least common multiple of the denominators. In this case, it's 24. Then you need to put inside the hat the number that you need to multiply the denominator with to get the least common multiple. Here, just 1, because you don't need to multiply 24 with anything to get 24, just 1, right? Here you need to multiply 12 with 2 to get 24. But you don't just multiply 12, you don't just multiply the denominator, you also multiply the numerator. And 2 times 6 is going to give me 12. 2 times 12 is 24. So this fraction is equivalent to 12 24ths, whereas this is 9 24ths. So this is greater because 12 is more than 9. I'll do this one now. But yeah, I'm going to erase all of this for the time being. And just keep this. Here, the least common multiple of 12 and 4 is 12. So here, again, inside the hat, I'm only going to put 1. Whereas inside this hat, I need to think, what do I need to multiply 4 with to get 12? And the answer is 3. I need to multiply it with 3. So I multiply both numerator and denominator with 3, and I get 3 twelfths, which is equal to this fraction. They're the same. Here, again, we have twelfths and 24ths. So again, the least common multiple is 24. So in this hat, I'm going to put 2. And in this hat, I'm going to put 1. 2 times 7 is going to give me 14. 2 times 12 is going to give me 24. So here we have 14/24, and here we also have 14/24, so these two are equal. Next up, we have 4/7 and 14/15. All right. Now we need to find the least common multiple of 7 and 15. And if you don't remember how to do this, I will show you both the quick way and the sure way. The sure way, basically this one works for bigger numbers, whereas the other one works better with smaller numbers. This is the sure way, right? Here we divide both numbers with the smallest number possible. So we need to figure out, can I divide either 15 or 7 with 2? No, I cannot. Since I can't divide either of them with 2, I try with the next biggest number. That will be 3. Can I divide either of them with 3? Yes, 15 is divisible by 3. 7 is not perfectly divisible by 3, so I just rewrite it. 15, however, divided by 3 makes 5. Are they divisible by 3 again? No, they are not. Neither of them are. Well, what about 4, which is the next biggest number? The answer is no. I can't divide either by 4. What about 5? Yes, I can divide 5 by 5. I cannot divide 7 by 5, though. So I just rewrite it again. 5 divided by 5 makes 1. Can I divide either of them by 5 again? No. What about 6? No. What about 7? Yes, I can divide 7 with 7. 7 divided by 7 makes 1. So now I have turned both numbers into 1. To find the least common multiple, I multiply all of these with each other. So I need to do 3 times 5 times 7. And 3 times 5 times 7 makes how much? 3 times 5 makes 15. Times 7 would give me 105. In this hat, I'm going to put 15, because if you ask yourself how many times 7 makes 105, the answer you would get is 15. And in this hat, I'm going to put 7. Because how many times 15 gets 105? 7. 15 times 4 gives us 60. Over 105. And 7 times 14 is going to give us 98. Over 105. And 98 is more than 60, so this is greater. All right, let's move on. Here we need to fill in the blanks to make the additions true. So, okay. There are two ways that you can go about this, right? So here you could think, well, how much do I need, for example, to get 1, right? To basically get to the next full digit, right? Or the other way you can go about this is you can find the difference between this number and this number. By subtracting those two, finding the difference, you find this. The difference between 1 and 0.100 is 0.9. The difference between 1 and 0.250 is 0.75. Again, you can do the subtraction 1 minus 0.1. You know how to do that subtraction. Or 1 minus 0.25. You know how to do these subtractions. We've done them for many years. Next up, we have the difference between 1 and 0.45, which is 0.55. Next, we have the difference between 1 and 0.525, which is 0.475. Here we have the difference between 1 and 0.75, which is 0.25. Oh, what did I write? 25. There we go. Next up, the difference between 1 and 0.89 is 0.11. Here, the difference between 1 and 0.91 is 0.09. Here, the difference between 1 and 0.009 is 0.991. Right. All right, let's move on. Here we need to figure out if this is addition or subtraction. So these are really small numbers. I think you could do this easily. 25 and 19 makes 44. So 25 plus 20 makes 45. You need to add or subtract 1 to get 44. I'll subtract it. All right. Here we have 25 minus 19, which gives us 6. And 25 minus 20, which gives us 5. You need to add 1 or subtract 1 to 5 to get 6. You need to add it. Here we have 180 minus 72, which would give us 108. And here we have 180 minus 70. And you need to think, okay, well, am I going to add or subtract 2 to 110 to get 108? Well, I need to subtract 2. Here we have 75 and 21, which makes 96. 75 and 20 makes 95. And you need to think, do I need to add 1 to 95 or subtract 1 to get 96? I need to add 1. In case you need to check your answers, here's the whole worksheet. Pause the video and check them. All right. Now here we have more of a review, basically. So here, for example, we have 18 kilograms, and it says that that's equal to 19.4 minus what? So basically here, you need to figure out, well, what have I added to make from 18 to get 19.4? Again, I have said this many times, if you have zeros here, you can pretend that they don't exist. If they don't have any more numbers to their right, they do not exist. So what did I add to this to get 19.4? I added 1.4. All right. Here we have 9.5, which is less than 18. So I've taken something away. What have I taken away? If you find the difference between these two, you get this. And what you'll find is 8.5. Here we have 20. and it says is equal to 22.5 minus what? 22.5 is 2.5 more than 20. So if I subtract that 2.5 from it, I will get 20. Here we have 19.2, which is less than 20. Now much less? 0.8. Again, if you find the difference between this and this, or in the previous case, this and this, you get what you're looking for. If you do the subtraction 22.5 minus 20, you get 2.5. If you get 20 minus 19.2, you get 0.8. Just find the difference. Here, the difference, for example, between 26 and 15.1 is 10.9. And the difference between 26 and 28.5 is 2.5. Here, the difference between 14 and 11.4 is 2.6. So you got carried away there. The difference between 14 and 9.8 is 4.2. Next. Okay, so we need to fill in the blanks here so that each of these needs to make this. For the additions and the subtractions, you can do the same as what we did now. So find the difference between the end result and whatever you have here, right? Find the difference between them. For the multiplications, it's a little different. We'll get to that. Let's do the additions first. 12,457 to 16,000. The difference is, let's find the difference, 3, 4, 5, 3. So 3,543. Whereas the difference with 18,590 is 2,590. Again, we'll get to the multiplications later. The difference between this and this is 1,463. Whereas the difference between 16,000 and 12,570 is 3,430. Here, the difference between 14,000 and 6,500 is 7,470. The difference between this and this is 5,756. Here, the difference between 18,430 and 14,000 is 4,430. And the difference between 13,570 with 14,000 is 430. All right, now about the multiplications. Okay. What this is saying basically is 2 times what makes 16,000. Now, you could go about this in a simple way and think, okay, well, 2 times what makes 16? The answer is 8. But I don't want to make 16. I want to make 16,000. So 2 times what makes 16,000? The answer is 8,000. Because the zeros, when I multiply 8,000 with 2, they're not going anywhere. It's just going to get carried over to the result, right? Or if you want to go about this the hard way, you could have said, well, 2 times what makes 16,000? Sounds a lot like division. So I could do this as a vertical division if I wanted to. And I'd get 18,000 still. And the same applies for the rest of them. So here, for example, try to think 4 times what gets me 16,000? Well, 4 times what gets me 16? And the answer is 4. Well, if 4 times 4 gets me 16, and 4 times 4,000 is going to get me 16,000. Next, 2 times what gets me 14? 2 times 7 gets me 14. So 2 times 7,000 is going to get me 14,000. Next, we have 7 times what makes 14,000. Basically, we're saying 7 times what gets me 14? The answer is 2. So 7 times 2,000 gets me 14,000. All right. Here, the numbers are a little more complicated. So again, the same is true, however, for the additions and the subtractions, that I basically just need to find the difference between these numbers, the results, and whatever it is, the other number that's in the addition and subtraction. So, for example, here, the difference between 3,000 and 6,900 is 3,900. Here, the difference between 10,000 and 6,900 is 3,100. And here, the difference between 30,000 and 36,300 is 6,300. The difference between 76,900 and 36,300 is 40,600. All right. Now, for the multiplications, I need to think 2 times what makes 6,900, and this would actually make sense for you to do as a vertical division, because it's not that easy to figure out necessarily. But you know how to do vertical division, so I'm not going to be doing it for you. I've already kept you here for 45 minutes. I can see that. So if you do this vertical division, what you would find basically is 3,450. And then it asks, what can I divide 6,900 with and get 6,900? The answer is, well, you need to think, what number can I divide anything with and have it stay the same? And the answer is 1. Because when I divide a number with 1, that number stays the same. Next up here, this one says 12,100 times what makes 36,300? This can also be done as a vertical division, or you can notice that this here, so let's call this 121, is if I multiply that by 3, I get this. So 363. If you noticed that really quickly, you would have noticed that, okay, you didn't have to do the vertical division if you noticed that. Because then you know that I just need to multiply this by 3. And the zeros are going to stay in place. And then it asks us, what can I divide 72,600 with and get 36,300? Now here, you might notice if you look carefully enough at it, this is twice as much as this. So if this is twice as much as this, then if I cut it in half or divide it by 2, that's what cutting it in half is, I'm going to get this. All right. Okay, magic squares. We need we need the sums of the numbers that are horizontal, vertical, and even diagonal to make in this square 22, in this square 30. So let's figure out what they need to be. Here we have 8, 11, and 1, right? So these plus whatever's here need to make 22. So 8 and 11 and 1 make 20. So 20 plus what makes 22? 20 plus 2 makes 22. And if you check here as well on this line, they also make 22 if you add all of these together. We have 8 and 1 and 10 plus what makes 22? 8 and 1 and 10 makes 19 plus 3 makes 22. Here you might be having a difficult time finding this one because you're missing 2. We'll go to the horizontal lines then. 1 and 2 and 7 make 10. 10 plus what makes 22? 10 plus 12 makes 22. Lastly, we have 10, 5, and 4, which makes 19 plus what makes 22, and the answer is 3. And indeed, 1 and 12 and 6 also make 19 plus 3 makes 22. Here we need them to make 30. So we say 9 and 8 and 7 and what make 30? 9 and 8 and 7 make 24 plus 6 makes 30. 5 plus 11 plus 8 plus what makes 30? 5 and 11 and 8 makes 24 plus 6 again makes 30. 9 and 4 and 5 make 18 plus 12 makes 30. 4 and 7 makes 11 plus 11 makes 22 plus 8 makes 30. And that's your final exercise. So that's all for today. Have a great weekend. Do your homework. If you find it too difficult, we'll look at it again when you get back to school. Don't worry about it. See you again on Monday. Bye.